Hello everyone, Mr.G here, welcoming you to another episode of Monsters of the Mind on video games. Yeah, we still haven't really left Nintendo yet, but I'm kind of scared to be honest. I don't know what I'll find out there, but anyway, let's move on. Today, we're discussing one of the most famous, well, is he? Yeah, I guess he is. Okay, he's pretty famous. It's everyone's favorite pink puff that's not from Pokemon, Kirby. Kirby is a pink spherical creature with red feet. And yes, those are feet, not shoes. Kirby's very childlike and also pretty gluttonous as he loves nothing more than eating. But at the end of the day, he's a good person and will always do whatever he can to save the day. Kirby's powers include the ability to inflate himself like a balloon to float through the air, and his main power, eating. Kirby has the ability to inhale things into his mouth like a vacuum and then swallow them. You see, Kirby's stomach is its own pocket dimension, so he can basically eat anything and never get full. He can also shoot anything he has in his mouth back out as a star-shaped projectile that does serious damage, especially if he inhales more than one thing at once. But most importantly, if he eats things with a power of some sort, then Kirby gains their power. This is known as his copy ability, and over the course of the games there's been nearly 100 abilities Kirby can have in his arsenal. Some last until you die or get hit too much, things like that, or you decide to give them up, like Beam, which lets Kirby create electric whips, or Fire, which gives Kirby fire breath. But some are temporary, like the infamous Crash, which basically turns Kirby into a walking nuclear bomb, as when this ability is used, it creates a massive shockwave that instantly kills all regular enemies, and deals a significant amount of damage to bosses. But for balance reasons, it can only be used once. Kirby first appeared in the Game Boy game Kirby's Dream Land. This short and sweet game is about Kirby getting all the food back after it was stolen by the king. In this game, Kirby doesn't have copy abilities. His main attack was just to eat and spit. Of course, Kirby wins and delivers the food back to the citizens. Kirby returned in Kirby's Adventure for the NES. This game was very important for the franchise, as it's what introduced Kirby's copy abilities. Though in this game, they still had a few things to work out to their abilities, like, most notably is the fact that every ability only has one move, whereas later games would give them all sorts of combos and weak and strong attacks, plus there are abilities like Ice and Freeze or Fire and Burning that would just be fused into the same move later on. In this game, Kirby set out to repair the Dream Fountain after its Star Rod is shattered. Unfortunately, it turns out it was broken for a reason, as when it's repaired, it releases the entity known as Nightmare. So now Kirby has to kick his butt using the Star Rod as a weapon, starting the tradition of an ability only used during the final boss. Although later games kind of stopped doing this, so I guess it stopped being a tradition eventually. This game also introduced the character of Meta Knight, an armored being who throughout the game challenges Kirby to fight his henchmen before challenging you to a duel, where you have to use the sword ability. He refuses to fight you if you're not that form. Upon defeating him, his mask falls off and it's revealed he looks almost exactly like Kirby. This raises a lot of questions. Is he a member of Kirby's species? Can he copy abilities too? Questions man may never know. The next milestone in Kirby is Kirby Superstar, which doesn't have a main plot, rather it's a bunch of smaller games on one cartridge. This game greatly expands copy abilities, as this was the first time they gave Kirby an outfit to reflect his abilities, and it was the first game that they had more than one attack. Another expansion of Kirby's abilities happened in Kirby 64. In this game, a far-off planet inhabited by fairies is attacked, and their main source of power is shattered, so Kirby has to gather the shards and save the fairies' planet. Anyways, in this game, there's seemingly less copy abilities than usual. But that's where this game's main gimmick comes into play. You see, in most games, if you swallow two enemies of different abilities, you'll just get a random one. But in this game, you actually combine the abilities together to get an entirely new one. You can either combine two of the same ability for an upgraded version of it, or combine different ones for fun combos, like Electric and Ice turning Kirby into a refrigerator, which allows you to shoot out food, which you can use to heal yourself. Fire and Rock turns Kirby into a volcano that shoots an endless supply of lava rocks. Needle and Cutter turns Kirby's arms into a bear trap. And my favorite, Electric and Cutter, which turns Kirby into Darth Maul. After this game, Kirby took a break from the home console scene for a while. All the games released there throughout the 2000s were spin-offs, and all of his mainline games were handheld. So, yeah. In Kirby Squeak Squad, Kirby has the ability to store objects in his stomach for use later. There's also some ability combos here, but nowhere near as inventive or fun as Kirby 64. It's mostly just you can add elemental properties to the sword and bomb abilities, except fire bombs, because I guess that'd be too redundant. In Kirby's Canvas Curse, Kirby is cursed into being a ball, so now he must navigate around and defeat the witch who cursed him. In Kirby Mass Attack, Kirby split into 10 and loses most of his power, including Inhale, I guess, since he never uses it in-game. So now you control a swarm of Kirbys who beat things up for you, and why wasn't this a Pikmin game? And in Kirby's Epic Yarn, Kirby is sent to an alternate dimension made of yarn and can't use his power since air passes right through him since he's, well, made of yarn. So instead, now he has the ability to shapeshift his yarn body into different forms, which allows him to go on his quest. It helps that you can't die in this game. But finally, after all the spin-offs and gimmick games and not being on home console, Kirby made his glorious return in 2011's Kirby Returns to Dreamland. In this game, Kirby and his friend help a stranded alien repair his ship, and this game introduced super abilities, which are power-upped versions of regular abilities. You got one regular sword, and then a giant sword that slices through anything it slices. What? In Kirby Triple Deluxe, a giant beanstalk has grown in Dreamland, so Kirby has to climb it to find out what's up. Get it? Up because You get it! In this game, Kirby has a new ability called Hypernova, which basically turns him into a black hole and can suck up anything, even things that he normally can't, like heavy things or stones or bosses before you defeat him. At one point, he even sucks up the UI, so, yeah, that's a powerful vortex. In Planet Robobot, Kirby's planet gets roboticized, so he has to stop it. In this game, Kirby is given a mech armor that has his copy ability, and so he uses it to save the world. In Kirby Star Allies, Kirby uses the power of friendship to save the day from a being that's basically an elder god straight out of H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah. Also in this game, Kirby has the power to throw hearts at people to redeem them and make him join his side. Does that count as mind control? I don't want to think about the ethical implications of that. And finally, in the newest mainline game, Kirby in the Forgotten Land, Kirby is sent to an alternate world and has the ability to partially inhale things and use them to his advantage, like light bulbs to glow in the dark, air fans to shoot gusts of wind, or cars to drive around. This is notably the first completely 3D Kirby game, as before this, all the mainline games, despite using 3D models, were still restricted to 2D movements. Now, there were some 3D spin-offs like Air Ride or Birthday Blast, but this was the first time a main platformer was 3D. Outside of his games, Kirby has had plenty of other appearances, too. In the 2000s, there was the anime Kirby Right Back at You. I'd best describe it as, like, semi-slice of life with some action elements. I don't know how to genreize animes. Anyway, in this show, it's revealed that Kirby is actually a baby of his species, and he was woken up too early, so he wasn't fully developed. But that doesn't mean he's still not powerful. He still has all the same abilities from the game, and often kicks monsters' butts in one shot after he gets his abilities. So yeah, the show had a good run, it had 100 episodes, and it's pretty well liked in the fandom. And of course, Kirby has been a frequent player in the Smash Bros. Series, having been in every single game. His copy abilities carry over to this series, although it's reworked here. Instead of getting a random elemental ability or something thematically similar, he gets an outfit based on whoever he swallowed, and then his neutral specials are placed with his opponent's neutral special. Now, Kirby doesn't have the same cultural impact as something like Mario or Zelda, but Kirby's still a well-beloved franchise, and it's hard to find anyone who actually dislikes the games. And to be real with you guys for a second, Kirby's a very important game series to me. You see, Kirby, more specifically Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, was the first real video game I ever played. Before then, I only ever played licensed games and Flash games, but Kirby was what made me realize that there was more than that out there. When I first played this game on that Game Boy Advance, I was hooked. It was fun, it was challenging, and the theme that played during the semi-final boss, it was the first time music in a video game made me feel something. It felt epic, like I was on an actual quest. I instantly became a fan of Kirby after this, and that led me to discover other Nintendo games, and eventually, other games in general. And because of that, I have to thank Kirby for getting me out of the licensed game sphere. And to this day, Kirby games are things I always look forward to. Thank you guys for watching so much. I should probably expand out to other series, but I don't want to.